All right, this video is part 2 of section 9.2, talking about 30, 60, 90 triangles, the other type of special right triangle. In a 30, 60, 90 triangle, unlike a 45, 45, 90 triangle, we have legs that are different lengths of each other. And that's because those angles are different. We have a 30-degree angle and a 60-degree angle. And as we learned earlier on in the year, shorter sides are always across from shorter angles. Longer sides are across from longer angles. That's why our hypotenuse is always the biggest side of a right triangle, because the right angle is always the biggest angle. So in this case, we're going to have a short leg and a long leg. The short leg is across from 30. The long leg is across from 60. And so if we start with that short leg, to find the long leg, we are always going to multiply times the square root of 3. Or let's say we know the long leg. To find the short leg, we're going to divide by the square root of 3. And let's say we have the short leg and we want to go to the hypotenuse. Well, we're going to multiply times 2. And if we want to go from the hypotenuse and find the short leg, what are we going to do? Divide by 2. So in problems involving 30, 60, 90 triangles, you could start with any of these sides. And you're either going to be multiplying or dividing by square root of 3 or 2, depending on the information you're given. So let's look at some examples. All right, for this one, for G and H, we are given a 30, 60, 90 triangle with one of the legs being 6. So the first question you should ask yourself is, which thing am I given? Am I given the hypotenuse, the short leg, or the long leg? And here, since we're across from 30, it's the short leg. So to get to the longer leg, as we learned in our last slide, we're going to multiply times the square root of 3. So G is just 6 times the square root of 3. And to get to our hypotenuse, we need to multiply by 2. That makes H 6 times 2, which is 12. On our triangle over here on the right, this time we are given the hypotenuse equaling 22. And so the first thing we're going to do from that hypotenuse is determine what the short side is. We're always going to determine what the short side is first if we don't have it. So here, we're going to divide by 2 to go from our hypotenuse to our short side. That gives us 11. And then once we have that short leg, we are going to multiply times the square root of 3 to find the length of our longer leg. So 11 times the square root of 3 is what K is going to be. All right. To find R and S, again, we are going to ask ourselves, which thing do I have? That square root of 7, what is it? In this case, it's the short leg. It's across from 30. So what's the longer leg going to be? R, how do we find it? Multiplying by the square root of 3. Square root of 7 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 21. That's our value for R. For S, what do? We need to multiply our short leg times 2. So if we do that, we get 2 times the square root of 7. All right, our last example for 30, 60, 90 triangles, finding U and W. Let's ask ourselves, that 9 that we're given, which of these sides is it? Is it the hypotenuse, the short leg, or the long leg? In this case, it's the long leg. It's across from 60. And so what's the first thing I want to find? I want to find my short leg. How do I do that? I divide by square root of 3. That's not simplified. Rationalize the denominator. Multiply the top and the bottom by the radical. Simplify. We get our short leg being 3 times the square root of 3. Now to find the hypotenuse, what do we do with that short leg? We multiply it by 2. So 2 times 3 root 3 ends up being 6 root 3. 2 times 3 is 6.